But I'm going to tell the truth now to help people. I'm going to be telling the truth. A new idea, eh? Thank God I came up with it. Yeah, because an article is too long. Hello, everybody. Well, Sunday Adelaja here. I hope you people are ready. I hope so. Who is getting? Oh, Shegun Fatima is already inside. Hello, Brother Shegun. Blessings to you. How are you doing today? Well, we are ready to go. I'm here with Bosse Fayajuola is the second one online. Then we have Toye Onagbesa. Yeah, how are you all doing? Welcome. Yes, Lanon Adebayo is here. Good evening. Welcome, everyone. We are ready to go, right? And please, as you are coming in, will you be kind to go and press your share button so that we will immediately begin to share and invite people to come and join us. Bebe Ndum is here as well. Mayo Y is here. Be precise, she says. Okay, blessings. Loveth is here. Uduakan. Lemshi Shidi is here. Olukayode Kundayo is here. Shirley Turner is here. Paulos Gebred Sadik from Stockholm. Emmanuel Olushola is here as well. Tres Osai is here. Flair Karen is here. Abikosh, yes. Ajaya Maka. Bless you, madam. Ifeanyi Mbanugo is here. Tyra Ojemadu, hi. And Wendelin Marshall is here as well. Wow. Blessings to you all. Please, let's go and share the link. Let's go and share this. Let's go back to our, probably you need to go back to your timeline and press the share button. Then that's how we'll be able to bring in other people. Fumi Adewusi is here. Ewa Adeniji is here. Darling Rufus is here. Ronke is here from Pennsylvania, USA. Yes. Maria Barabash, privet. Good evening. You're speaking English now. Frank Apia, wow, long time. Long time, Frank. Pastor Frank. Blessings to you. That's Denmark. Joyce Tete. Blessings. Jonah Etim. Hallelujah. Well, welcome, everyone. Welcome. Mayowa says she has shared the link. I would like to encourage everybody else to go share the link as well. So let's go, let's go share the link before we begin tonight. Tonight is going to be explosive. One of your favorites is here. Roslyn Iola is here from UAE. Success from Kharkov is here. Okay. You are saying you are so excited that it's Pastor Joshua that's going to be here. Eh? You are in the spirit. You are in the spirit. Omokaro is here. Sam Minister is here. Kayode Amos, good evening. Bill Muna, good evening. I probably left out somebody. Cecile Eveze, good evening. Jonah Etim, right. Joyce Tet, all right. Coral Genifa, good evening. Well, we're ready to go. Olomu Kenneth is here as well. Well, yes, you are right. I have Pastor Joshua here. Pastor Joshua is ready to go. I'm sure he's been waiting for this. I'm sure he watched it in the morning. So, Pastor Joshua, what do you have to tell us?
Hi, everyone. Thank you very much for coming in. It's my pleasure to be here with my mentor this evening to share my lessons with you and what I understood by this morning's topic. So I really hope we have a great time together. And this morning was really, really, really special to me because I am a victim of what was being talked about today. And at the same time, I'm also on the other end of doing the same thing to other people. So I was repenting, I was sober, I was happy. There were a lot of mixed emotions in there, but I can say I was really delivered and healed by the message today. My eyes are opened and I know better than I knew before. And I can now relate to Pastor when he says, those who are successful know something others don't. And the more, I take in these lessons, I can see myself changing on a daily basis because these truths are really setting me free from what I used to do before. So this was a really lovely experience for me this morning.
Yes, Joshua, you are just telling me something now before we started the program, that you now begin to understand me better. Much like what Sufficient was talking about yesterday, that she started understanding me better, why I am the way I am. What is it? What is it that is making you to understand me better?
Yeah, you see.
In what area? What are the practical examples?
Okay, one of the things that I noticed when I came close to Pastor is that he's very, loving, and he's very tolerant. And I was not understanding it at first because I saw a lot of people screwing up. Even I myself, I screwed up a lot. In fact, if I were me, I would have fired me by now. But I saw that Pastor wasn't that way. And, most of the time when people come to report issues to him, he doesn't really get agitated. He doesn't get angry. He just keeps very calm, like he didn't even hear anything. And we on the side, who are listening to the things other people are saying, we're getting angry, we're getting so pissed off and so emotional, and we want to just do, as much as we can to fix the situation. But we just noticed that he's really cool about the whole thing, and he just doesn't do, it's like almost like he's not doing anything, but he is doing. We know he's smart. We know he knows more than these people, but he lets them talk. He lets them do whatever they want to do. He lets somebody talk about the other person. And when that person who was talked about comes around, he just loves that person as if everything about that person is perfect.
As if you never heard anything bad.
As if you never heard anything bad about the person. And this person might have done the worst thing. This person might have, said the worst thing, but he embraces them. He loves them. And we, on the side, we're not even able to go as far as he's going. We were not the ones being talked about, but he's the one who was talked about. And we just watch him love these people and just let it go as if nothing happened. And then I was thinking to myself, I said, why is he this way? I never understood it. But with all these teachings, I'm beginning to understand why he is the way he is. He's not this way because, it's by accident. He's not this way because he prays a lot.
Or because he was born
because
that way.
He was born this way, or he just fell from heaven as part of grace. He actually understands something and is living by principles. And that is why he's able to operate the way he's operating. He has inculcated in himself things that have made him unique, things that have made him effective with people. And that's why he has the results he has. So when people talk about grace, talk about anointing, and I listen to messages like this, I'm like, this is not even in the same sphere. This has nothing to do with anointing. This is knowledge. This is wisdom. This is application of principles. Because these things are in the Bible, but nobody really pays attention to them. People just like to be spiritual. People just like to be religious.
Emotional.
But they like to be emotional, but they don't like to really apply principles and break things down into such a way that they can apply it to their lives and become like Christ. Pastor Sunday is just like Christ. And I'm not saying that because he's here or because I know him. I grew up in a church where I went to church 3 times every week. At every service, we read at least, in every sermon, we read at least 25 different Bible verses. Many of the churches today don't read Bible. I grew up in a Bible-believing church. We read the Bible from cover to cover. Old Testament, New Testament, precept upon precept. We went through the Bible. But I never really saw people exercise this same understanding that Pastor Sunday is now sharing with us. To personify the Bible and actually personify Christ in such a way as he's doing. I saw some people come close out of the fact that they were really, dedicated to the scriptures and prayerful and spiritual. But many of them are not free to live the way he lives. They are not so open. They're not so tolerant. They are very guarded in the way they live their lives. And then we now understood that to be part of being like Christ because you're keeping the bad guys away. But Pastor Sonny embraces the bad guys. He embraces the good guys. He embraces the not so bad and not so good. Everyone, he takes on all comers, and he's very, tolerant and loving. And he listens to everybody. He doesn't take your word for it and ignore the other person. He listens to one person and he listens to the other party like he never heard anything before. And he's so objective in the way he handles situations. And when I started working with him, I started learning that as well. Because I started seeing that, look, I was very shallow in the way I used to deal with things. I could hear one side of the story and just jump into conclusions. And I found that many of us are actually like that. We believe the TV, we believe the media, we believe the first person who comes to us with a story. And we just write off the other person and just believe that that person is as bad as they said. In fact, I was thinking today and I discovered that before I met Pastor Sunday, there were many things that were said about him that were bad, and I believed those things because I didn't know him. People kept telling me stuff, and I was like, oh wow, you mean that's happening? And I was like, wow, that is really bad. So in my mind, I was thinking that, okay, probably he has made some huge mistakes in his life, and probably the anointing.
He's a big sinner.
Yeah, he's a big sinner. Maybe the anointing of God has left him and things like that. And I actually heard, it's so sad, I heard pastors teach things against him. And they made us to believe, where I was, that, he made some huge mistakes. And I was believing those things. I never heard his side of the story. I didn't give him the benefit of the doubt. I just embraced it because these are people who I loved and I trusted. So whatever they said, and I respected, so whatever they said, I took it as the truth. But I failed to apply the Solomon principle of listening to both sides of the story. And I'm not alone. I noticed that in the world today, we are that way. Africa is the way it is today because the Western media has portrayed it in a certain way. Now, thank God the world is opening their eyes. We now have social media and we can now put our own stuff online. But I can tell you that when I came to this part of the world, there were some people who were asking questions like, do you guys live on trees in Africa? Do you guys live in huts? Do you have houses? Do you have clothes? And I could see in these people that they were very genuine. They were not even trying to diss us. They were not trying to be insultive. They were really sincere because they thought we live on trees. They thought black people had tails and all of this stuff. And we were trying to tell them that, look, life is not that way. In fact, some of them see the way we live. We even live better than they do. And they're surprised. They're like, but we thought in Africa there is poverty. Some of them even believe Africa is a country. All because of what they've seen in the media. And when I walked with Pastor, I saw that I cannot just afford to be shallow. I need to always go to the depth of things to really understand it. And even then, I have to be tolerant. I have to be understanding. Patient. I have to be patient. I have to be loving. I have to be kind. I cannot just say because I'm not like the other guy, I'm better than he is. I have to put myself in their shoes. I have to be able to get the full picture of things to be able to come to a good conclusion that would make me a better person and make me to help other people become better, not put them down, not stop them from moving forward in life or making them to have some psychological traumas by the things I say, but actually lifting them up no matter how, bad the situation might be. So this was really healing for me. I had to repent because I've also done it to other people. I didn't listen to their own side of the story. I believed the first person who came, and I felt because they were so passionate about what they were saying, and because they were so, they were so emotional about it, I tapped into that emotion, and I there was a connection, and I felt like, oh wow, this person is right. I embraced them, and I threw the other person away in my mind. And when the next time I saw the other person, my behavior became different, and that person did nothing wrong to me. But just because he has done something to my friend, who I believed, and I didn't take time to listen to the other side of the story, I became a victim. And that's what the world is suffering today. The world is a very bad place today, or a lot of things are being ruined in the world today because many people don't know the other side of the story. They only listen to one side. That's why many people are having problems. In my country today, many people are having that problem. They are blaming different people for the problems of the nation. But when I talk to people, because I'm close to Pastor, I have a different level of information. I'm able to give them the other side of the story. And when I give it to them, they're like, oh, okay, we now understand. And they're now less angry. They are now less, judgmental. They are now less, crazy about the situation. No, they're no longer condemning. They now begin to understand. And now say, you see, if I wasn't here, if I'm not learning these things, I would just be like, like every other person on the street, just judging and just jumping into conclusions. But today I have learned. And I've begun to apply that principle that don't just believe one side of any story. Give people the benefit of the doubt. Love people and try to understand them. Don't just, look at people and write them off because you don't know what they are going through. Take time to understand them. Pastor Sonny talked about how he was a kid and people were beating him up. I understand that because I was really beaten a lot as well when I was in school. When you don't do things the right way, they beat you. No teacher will ask you what you're thinking. No teacher will ask you what you're going through. No teacher would care if you slept at night, at home. Nobody cares. They just want you to do things the way it has been programmed to be done. But we humans don't function that way. One side of the story does not solve the problem. We've been created as unique beings. No two people are equal. No two people are the same. In the way they've been wired to think, in the way they behave, There's a reason why we all have different DNAs. It's not because God cannot make everybody the same, like a carbon, like a printing press. It's easier. But he took time to make everybody unique. And that shows in the way we think, the way we process information, and the way we carry out things. But in the world today, we've not really embraced that thinking, especially in the third world countries. We're still so focused on the one way of doing things. And the moment somebody doesn't do that, we don't care to understand them. Thank God God turned Pastor Sunday's story around, and we now can enjoy the benefits of what he has discovered through his pain. But what if he didn't do that? Imagine how many lives have been ruined because their side of the story was not heard, because they had no voice, because there was nobody to speak for them. They have become victims and they've been destroyed. So I really felt sober today, and I felt really sorry, and I had to repent and now begin to look at things a little more critically. He is a critical thinker, and he figured it out that, look, I have to think critically if I'm really going to get the best out of life. I was just striving on, I can just run through anything and be fine. And I found that approach to life, it causes more harm than it does good. And if I keep on that way, I will not be able to accomplish much, because I would make a lot of things, I would destroy a lot of things, and I wouldn't even be the best myself, because I would apply the same thing to my life even unknowingly, and I wouldn't take time to dig deep and become the best I can be. I would just be brushing things off and just believing that everything is on surface, just believing the surface story of stuff and just believe it's fine. But that's not the way Jesus was. He was a tolerant person. He took time to know the both sides of the story. Today we appreciate Solomon, but what he did, many of us are not going to do. And this also brings me to how practical Pastor Sunday is. He's so practical in the way he lives his life that, he tries to apply everything. Now, we've read Solomon's story, but we don't use it. We don't apply the principle. We say he's so wise. He's written books, we read this Bible, but we don't use what he said. If somebody comes to us and says that another person killed somebody, immediately you're dead. I have read of, in my country, Nigeria, innocent people were burnt on the street because somebody said they stole. Nobody cared to know whether the guy really stole or not. But they just said, jungle justice, you're a thief. And they burnt innocent people alive on the street because they didn't hear their own side of the story. Lives were lost. Not long ago, I read of another case where a man didn't even do anything wrong, but because somebody mistook him, mistaken identity, they didn't give him the opportunity to say his own side of the story, it cost him his life. And when he was dead, that was when they found out that he was the wrong person. So if they had allowed him to speak, if they had listened to his own side of the story, this man would still be alive. So I can see that Pastor is applying the principles of the Bible in his day-to-day life, and that is why he's an effective leader. That's why people love to follow him. That is one of the reasons why I'm here. If he listened to other sides of the story, if he didn't listen to the other side of the story and he listened to just one part, I would not be here because people told him things that were not good about me even before I came here. I was so uncomfortable when I found out that somebody had come to him to say things that were not 100% true. And I was like, oh, maybe he's not going to hate me. Maybe he's not going to love me anymore. Maybe he's going to kick me out. Maybe he's not going to accept me. But when I came, in fact, he didn't even care about it. He even put a positive spin on the whole thing. And I was like, what? How is that even possible? Because I've never seen that happen before. Normally, when somebody goes behind your back to talk about you, they do that because they want to damage you. They want to assassinate your character. But thank God Pastor Sunday knew better, and that is why I was saved. If not, if I was like him, if somebody came behind my back, in somebody's back, to tell me something that bad, I might have written them off. I wouldn't give them the opportunity to walk so closely with me and train them and love them and give them room to grow. I would have written them off. But now he has taught me by example, and he has shown me that you don't just believe one side of the story. He gave me the chance. In fact, thank God I had told him some things before. So he said, he told the person, he said, look, I've heard some of this stuff before. Some of it I've not heard, but it's fine. It's the past. Let's let it go. And I'm sure that person would have been shocked because in their world, they are not used to people responding that way. They're used to people just hearing a story. Once it's negative, they write the person off, they push the person aside, and then they keep moving because nobody needs drama in their life. But Jesus loved it. Pastor Sunday doesn't care. He's so loving, so embracing, and he says, oh, don't worry about it, just grow. And he gives everybody room to grow. He doesn't force you to do stuff. He doesn't, lord it over you. And that's difficult for somebody in his position that knows as much as he does. Because when you see a lot of people screwing up around you, sometimes I ask myself, how is he so patient? because I don't know half of what he knows, but I'm even finding it difficult to be patient with some people sometimes. But he's so patient. The laughter you're hearing, that's the way he will be laughing. And then sometimes he will scold you. Other times he will just do like he didn't even see it, but he actually saw what you did. And he just expects that you will fix it yourself because you should know what's right. He has told you some time ago, so he believes you should remember and you should be able to grow and fix things. So this topic of hearing the both sides of the story, it cuts across the whole board. You know, nobody is exempt from the top of the society to the least. And we grew up in a system where we don't listen to people, you know, we don't listen to the both sides. We're too lazy to do that, you know. Nobody wants to do the hard work of listening to both sides. Just one is good enough and let's keep it moving. But that is how humanity is deteriorating. And nobody is willing to do the right thing. But thank God that I've heard this and I'm going to begin to apply it. And I hope every one of us is going to apply it as well. Take the case of women, for instance. Women were told, or where I grew up, women don't preach. But Pastor Sonny said, no, why would women do that? I used to ask myself, I'm like, okay, probably women are different in the way they were made, so they shouldn't do some things. But when I came here, I began to see that women can be presidents. Why can't they be pastors in church? Why do you have to discriminate against a sex just because on the outside they look different from you? In spirit, there is no male or female. Why do you have to discriminate against somebody because of their country or because of their color? Some people see me that I'm from Nigeria and they automatically think that I'm a fraudster because they knew a Nigerian somewhere who collected somebody's money online and they begin to project that same aggression to me. And I'm like, what did I do? My country has 180 million people. Every country has criminals. Why do I have to suffer because I come from Nigeria and then in Nigeria did something that was bad? It makes no sense. When I see people say, you know, saying stuff about a certain tribe or a certain religion, it hurts me because I know that these people are not that way. For instance, the Muslims, some people say, oh, wow, these Muslims, they are all bad. But I have seen good Muslims. I've gone to school with Muslims. I grew up in the northern part of Nigeria and I was privileged to be in the same group as Muslim people. And some of them are the kindest people you've ever met. Now, some of them we have the radicals among them, but that's not everybody. You cannot say, well, we're going to like kill all of them because they're all bad. What happens if they say, oh, wow, all Nigerians are criminals and decide to wipe all of us away? Or Pastor was talking about Mexico today. And I didn't even know Mexico was that good because, you know, everything we see online is that Mexico is a poor country. It's full of drugs and crime. It's full of a lot of delinquents and nobody is like a no good country. But of course, they're one of the best economies in the world. And they're right next to the US. Yes, some people are running into the US illegally, but from every country, people are moving up and down. So it's not just Mexico, but if you have not been there, you will keep believing that, oh, wow, that country is so bad. And I keep hearing that celebrities and even presidents go to Mexico for holidays. And I'm like, why is it that a country that is so bad, people still find time to go there for holidays? It never made sense. But now I understand because somebody has taken the time to go and experience the country and now bring the truth to us. Or else, I would have been believing the media because everything I say about Mexico, media and in the movies and wherever is always bad. They say they're bad guys. They're killing people on the street. They have a lot of drugs and the cartels and all of that. The mafia, they're the ones who are in charge of the nation. But it's not true. One of the richest men in the world is from Mexico. And he's doing fine. He's not a criminal. And he's so wealthy that he's in the top 10 richest people in the world. So it's strange the way we just cut people off, and in nations we just push people aside, and in our minds we just believe one part. But that's not the way God is. He sees us in our totality. He sees us the way we are from both sides. He doesn't just take one side to judge us. Another issue is the gay guys. I don't know for the life of me why they now describe people by their sex. I don't know who came up with that concept. For some reason, I don't know why sex is now a bigger sin than committing murder or lying or stealing. I don't understand it. And the people in the gay community have also embraced it, and they've even tagged themselves with it because they can see that the world is antagonizing them. So it's now we against them. And when it's you against somebody, it's difficult for you to get to a common ground because it's like it's all-out war. On the street is war, in the courts is war, in the office place is war, in the government is war, and it's like we must win, and the other people are saying we must win. But at the same time, these people are just people who have a defect in one aspect of their lives. I never knew this till I came close to Pastor Sunday as well. I always used to say, oh, these gay guys are so bad. They should stop them from, from coming close to other people because, and I was just so judgmental. I was so freaked out by them. I said, anytime I see gay people, I just get uncomfortable. But I said, okay, this is because I know they are gay. What if I didn't know they were gay? Wouldn't I love them? Wouldn't I be so open to talking to them? Because I'm not a person who is not jovial. I like to chat with people. I like to make new friends. So if I meet this guy and I don't know he's gay, how would I have related to him? But the moment I know somebody's gay, it doesn't matter how nice they look. And what I noticed is these guys actually look nice. They take time to take care of themselves, even better than those who are straight or who are, who date women. And I said, oh, there is something about these guys that make them the way they are. They have a lot of friends. They are very colorful. They are very flamboyant in the way they live their lives. And I said, it's not because of their sexuality they're like this. There is another part of them that is really good. But I don't take time to know somebody else. I just embrace the fact that he's gay. And I say, oh, wow, he should go to hell. In fact, God is going to judge him. If you don't repent, you will die and go to hell. But I'm judging. Me that is talking, I'm not perfect. His homosexuality will take him to hell. My lying can take me to hell as well.
And your judgment.
And my judgment as well will take me to hell because, like we heard yesterday, judge not that ye be not judged. And once we're not in somebody's shoes, we find it very easy to judge them and say, how could they do that? Didn't they know the right thing to do? Don't they read their Bibles? Weren't they brought up properly? But not everybody was brought up the same way we were brought up. So I now began to see that, look, I have to be more tolerant. And tolerance is something that is in our human, that should be our fundamental human nature. It should be engraved in us. Because without tolerance, you would destroy a lot of people. That is what made Hitler to almost wipe away the Jews. He wasn't tolerant. The Jews didn't hurt him. The Jews didn't do anything bad to him, but he just looked at that race and he felt they were parasites. And he said, let's completely cleanse them out. And that is why the Jews suffered the way they suffered. The Holocaust was just because one man was not tolerant to another tribe. He only had one side of the story. The Jews are some of the smartest people in the world. Today, they are inventing things that other countries don't have, and other countries are going to them to borrow it. Wouldn't Hitler have been a better person, or wouldn't Germany have been stronger if they had embraced the Jews and used the wisdom they have to even become a better and a stronger country? It would have been of better use. The US is where it is today because of the population of the Jews that are influential. In the movie industry, they are there. In the banking industry, they are there. The Jews are everywhere. And they are so powerful that the economy cannot do without them. So imagine if these guys were completely cleansed because one man was intolerant. Not because they were really bad, but because he knew just one side of the story. So this applies to every aspect of our lives. This applies to everything that we do, wherever we go. Sometimes when we see a certain group of people from a certain tribe, we automatically say these guys are bad. For instance, some people say, oh, Igbos are cheats. I grew up in a place where Igbos are so enterprising. In fact, my own neighbor where I live in Nigeria, he came in with just one car. And when I was leaving Nigeria to school, after about 5 years, this man had built a mansion. He had bought brand new cars. He gave out all the old cars to his driver, to his cleaners. He gave it to them for free. He's a very jovial man. So when people started talking bad about the Igbos, I said, why are you talking bad about them? I have lived with one. He's next to me. We share the same fence. I can see how loving, how kind, and how full of life. And how from nothing he just became so explosive. And this is far from his town. This is in the middle belt of Nigeria. People say, oh, the Muslims are the ones killing everybody. But those guys are good. I have lived with them as well. And I saw that they were not killing just a tribe. They were killing, it was some bad guys who came in, who started killing anybody who was not a Muslim. And some Muslims were there saying, don't do it. And those ones who said don't do it, they also suffer. But somebody who doesn't know both sides of the story, who is just at one end, will say, wow, these guys are bad. Let's wash them away. Let's leave them. Let's walk away. But walking away is easy. But if God walked away from all of us, where would we be? If some of the best people in our lives who have influenced us up to where we are walked away, where would we be today? We are where we are because somebody took a chance. Because somebody did not just believe that we are all bad. Nobody is born perfect. We all have to grow into the people that we have become. So if you're going to make the world a better place, if you will be a better person, if you will be a true Christian, you will have to be tolerant and understand both sides of the story. So I can keep going on and on giving you examples, but I just loved today's topic and I have repented from listening to just one side. And because of today's topic, when I hear something, I take time to do personal research. I have Google. All I have to do is type in the words, and 5 minutes, I will know the other side of the story. If it's about somebody who I know, I can call them up if I'm so concerned and if I have the time. Or else, I just brush it aside and move on with my life. There is too much to do for me to just be taking somebody's side of the story and writing a certain person off just because I think they've done something wrong. So we must embrace everybody. We must love everybody. We must make sure that we're tolerant and we know their own side. Let's take time to understand people. Let's not just believe that we know everything just because we are better, in quote, than they are, or we're in a better place than they are. Some people write off others because they are poor. Nobody wants to talk to them. Nobody wants to be friends with them. Pastor Sunday cited his own example, and it's a typical thing. There is classism in almost every society. You write off somebody who is not in your class. You write off somebody who doesn't have as much as you do. But they did not ask to be that way. They did not ask to be poor. Nobody wants to be born into a poor family. Nobody wants to be born without. Nobody wants to be born in a family where they don't have clothes, they don't have shoes. Nobody wants to be born a Muslim. Nobody wants to be born a Hindu. These people didn't have a choice. They don't have the kind of information that you have. That is why they are different from you. Just like Pastor Sunday is different from every one of us because he has a little more information or a lot more information than we do. That is why he's where he is and we are where we are. Now that we're learning, we're stepping up in our knowledge and we can become different. So tomorrow when you go to the street and somebody's misbehaving, you don't begin to beat them down. You remember that a few weeks ago you were different, but because somebody has brought the truth to you, you now understand better and you can now do better. So that is something that I feel we should really pay attention to. This topic is so important. Never believe just one side of any story till you hear the other. If you cannot hear the other, keep an open mind. It's not an easy thing to do because it's easier to just jump into conclusions and say, oh wow, this is the situation. But it takes discipline. It takes the mind of Christ. It takes genuine love and understanding to really put yourself in someone else's shoes even before you hear their side of the story. And even after you hear it, even when they are wrong, don't just write them off. You're not perfect. Jesus loved us even while we were still sinners. He didn't love us when we repented. It was while we were sinners, he loved us. He gave us time. Imagine the mistakes you made. He's God. He's perfect. Many of us say perfectionist, and that makes us not to tolerate other people. But God is really perfect. Many of us who are perfectionists still have other weaknesses in other aspects of our lives. And we find it difficult to tolerate other people. But God is so perfect and he still embraces you. He calls you his child. He loves you unconditionally. Every single day when you wake up, he protects you, he keeps you, he guards you, and he makes you to feel like you're his only child. He never neglects you. He said, I will never leave you. I will never forsake you. It's not because you're perfect. He has given you his word and his spirit. He gave you Jesus even before you were born, even before you had the chance to repent. It's not because of anything you did. It's because of his own goodness. So we must learn to be unconditionally as loving as Jesus because we have not died for anyone yet. He has given a lot more than we have, but still we feel we are in a place to act as gods sometimes because we're not in the shoes of, some other people who will feel like they're less than us. That is not what Christ would do. So I'm really blessed by today's topic, and I feel we too, all those listening to would have gotten one thing or the other. I read some of the comments, and I'm really feeling that, we really got some deliverance this morning.
Well, there is the other side of that story that I didn't talk much about this morning, but the truth is that when we hear one side of the story and believe it and follow it, we're actually at a loss. We are part of the people that lose. We lose. Just like you had something about me, and because how many years did it take you before you began to come? You would have gained so much if you had come before. Yeah, and so the same thing. When we are saying that black people cannot bring anything good, then there is nothing you could learn from them, and all the blessings that they could have given you, you will not be able to take, to use them, to take advantage of them. So when we believe one side of the story, we actually lose out on the other side. It's not just that we deprive the other people and the other group or the other side, but we also lose out on the blessing that the other side can give us as well.
Yeah, that's true. We've really lost out on a lot of great things because we wrote people off. And imagine, I was telling Pastor just before we started, I said, I wonder what his teachers who were beating him up will be saying if they can see him today. These teachers never thought he could become anything. They called him a dullard. They said he was no good. And I was saying, why do people always feel the need to tell somebody how bad they are till that person begins to believe it themselves? What do you gain by putting other people down? A wise man said, you never go anywhere in life by pushing others down. You need people to be standing to help lift you up. But when you think you need to step over people, you never really go far in life. And I also discovered that if I keep doing what I was doing before, like Pastor said, I will miss out on a lot of things. There are a lot of great people, a lot of talented people, a lot of loving people, a lot of kind people, a lot of generous people that I would miss out on being friends with, on benefiting from, on interacting with, from exchanging ideas with, because I've already written them off in my mind because of a single thing they did wrong. So imagine how much you would have gained if probably some of the people who you've written off because you had just one side of their story were your friends. They have things to offer. Every single person you meet has something to offer you, no matter how poor they are in quote. And people are not, how do we really measure poverty? That's something that I also, love this morning. Pastor said many people are rich in cash, but very poor in character. And they call many poor people jerks in the world today. They say they are no good people because they are cutthroats, they are not tolerant. And we claim these rich people are the best and want to be like them, but in their value system, they are poor. In their disciplines, they are poor. Money does not make a person rich. In fact, I've noticed that some of the nicest people you will ever meet in the world are people who don't have extravagant wealth, are poor people, normal people on the street. And that's another thing I learned from Pastor. He likes to listen to normal people. He talks to anybody and he asks them the strangest questions, things that I think he should know the answer to. He would just meet like the security man and start having a serious conversation with the person and asking them questions. And as they answer, you can see how happy he is to learn from them. And in my mind, I'm like, but he already knows this thing. Like, I feel like he should already, but he's giving them acceptance. He's giving them love. The way he interacts with his drivers, people who work for him, you almost feel like they're the same people, you feel like they're on the same level, but it's all about acceptance and making the average guy, hearing his own side, understanding his own perspective, and, identifying with who he is. But many of us don't do that. Once we get past the same level, everybody who is on that level and below, we write them off. And we just believe that, we are done, I'm moving on in life and I'm just going to get, to doing the right thing and to going to higher heights and greater mountains, sub-mountain things and going higher, flying high. But that's not what Jesus was. He was the highest guy, but he was with the lowest of people. He was with the least of people. But we are not willing to do that, Imagine if Mary Magdalene, he wrote him off and said, this woman is a demon. Many of us in our churches today, we would not allow somebody like Mary Magdalene to come close to the front of the church. Not even the pastor. The pastor is way too far. We wouldn't even let such a person come close to the front of the church because we feel that this person is demon possessed. Even after the person has been delivered, we will still keep them for a good number of years far away from being in any leadership position or close to any pastor, because we feel these people have been infected with some demon and they will come and they will possess everybody. But light cannot be put out by darkness. We are light. We should challenge darkness. We should embrace darkness because light, the darkness cannot comprehend it. But in our own world, we tend to run from darkness and we are light. We tend to make people feel like your darkness is so bad, stay in your darkness. We are going to be here with our light, having fun. But why do you have the light if you can't take it to those in darkness? Why don't you go to them and try to find out why they are the way they are? There's nobody who I've met who doesn't want to be great. There's nobody who doesn't want to be happy. There's nobody who doesn't want to be rich. What you have, there are several people who envy and want to be like you. So why don't you go to people who don't have that and try to find out why they're the way they are, and try to give them the knowledge that you have. Like Pastor Sunday is doing. He could keep all this stuff to himself and leave us in our ignorance, and we'll keep fighting each other in the church and believing that we're all right. We'll keep judging and listening to one side of the story, and we'll feel like, oh wow, that's the way the world functions, and such is life. But he has taken time out to share these truths with us, to share his own life story with us, to break just break things down and make us to understand the step-by-step principle of how to get to a very to our destinies, to a very formidable place in the world. He doesn't have to do it, but he's giving us these things because of this principle of understanding other people. And I found that he tried to understand me when I met him. I was ignorant, and even in my ignorance, he listened to me and he allowed me to express myself. And then he now began to give me light, and he began to give me understanding. He didn't just write me off and say, oh, all these religious people, don't worry about them, make them go, Joe, like we say in Nigeria. But he did do that. He embraced me. He taught me. He made me to understand things. And that is why I can say the things I'm saying today. So we must always listen to the other side of every story and not just abandon people and leave them where we met them just because we think we are better than they are. Because I found that we do that a lot in Africa. We need to get out of this. In the church, we need to get out of just listening to one side of the story. As leaders, we need to get out of it. And I noticed an average man on the street in my country or in most of the world countries, they just believe one side. And because of that thing, they lose out. In fact, they are losing and they don't even realize it. They are going through pain, they are going through suffering, and just a little knowledge would make all the difference. Just listening, just 1 minute or 5 minutes to the other person, to the other side, will completely eradicate every pain. But people don't want to do that because we've been wired wrongly. We've been taught wrongly. But now, I know the truth and I've been set free. I've repented, and those people who have just, written off because I had just one side, I would have to, repent when next I see them. I will have to embrace them. I will have to say, how are you? And really pay attention to what they are going through and understand them and, be empathic and be sympathetic to their situation and see how I can help. I have to be willing to share this message with as many people as I can and not feel like I am different now, I'm better, so I'm greater than everybody else. No, I must be humble, just like Pastor is showing us, just like Jesus showed us, just like all through the Bible, it has been shown to us. Imagine if God was just judging us based on one thing that we did, the way we judge many people in our lives. We will not be alive. I know I will not be alive. That's for sure. That's like, it's a given. Pure ED. I would not be alive if God was to judge me based on the bad actions that I've taken or the wrong things I have done. So if we don't expect God to judge us based on just one wrong thing we've done, let us not do the same thing to other people. God sees in us the greatness he has put. He sees in us the God, his nature that he has put in us. And that's what he really sees most of the time. And he believes the other side, even when we act differently. Many of us listen to the devil more than we listen to God. He doesn't wipe us away. He keeps us, he protects us, and he guides us, carefully to the truth. I have also found that if I was not seeing things the way Pastor was seeing it, I would have destroyed myself, because many of us tend to believe what we think about ourselves more than what we think of God or what God thinks of us. And that makes us to understand both sides of the story as well. Many of us, we don't see things from the way God has put it in our lives. We don't see things from God's perspective. We believe man's perspective, and that is one side of the story. Pastor Sunday suffered because he believed what people were telling him. But the moment he could see himself the way God saw him, the moment he began to understand the other side of the story, he became whole. He became healed. But many of us, we don't believe what God says about us. We forget that part and we just hold on to the other negative part. And then that's what we run with the rest of our lives, and it makes us to be underperforming as Christians, underperforming as human beings, and it just makes us to be failures and just, frustrated and unhappy. I have been unhappy several times Not because, somebody did something wrong, but just because I felt something, I was disappointed in myself. But God doesn't see me that way. That is one side of the story. Even in my own life, I'm fighting myself because I'm finding it difficult to embrace the other side of the story that God has given to me in His Word. So imagine what your life would be like if every single thing you do, you see it from God's perspective. If everybody you meet, you relate with them like you've seen God. You relate with them like you understand what they're going through, no matter how bad they may look. Somebody once, there was a post on Pastor's page, guy had tattoos all over his face and all over his body. And there was a question that was asked. They said, if this guy was to come to your church, would you embrace him? Would you give him a hug? And many people, church people, Christians, sanctified, Holy Spirit filled, were saying there is no way I'm going to embrace this guy. I cannot trust him. But you don't understand his own side of the story. The fact that he has tattoos on him does not mean that he's no longer a child of God. It doesn't mean that God, the fact that he's still alive, he has not gone to hell. He still has a chance. In fact, he can become a great evangelist, even more effective than you, who has been sitting in the pews for decades. So people were saying, oh wow, I will have to verify if he has really changed before I hug him. There were a lot of answers, but most of the answers that came in, they're saying, no, this guy is bad just because he has tattoos on his face. But nobody knows why he has those tattoos. Nobody ever went to ask him that, hi, how are you doing? Why are you this way? Just because physically he looks, different from what we're used to, we just write him off. But these are the guys that Jesus wants us to actually reach out to. We always like to go after the normal people, the guys who are well-dressed, who are looking good. Nobody wants to go to the bad guys. Nobody wants to find out their own side of the story. And that's why Christianity is not where it should be, because we've already chosen the people in our minds who we want to talk to. We've already chosen the people who we think deserve Jesus. We've already chosen in our minds the people who we think deserve our attention. And then the rest of the other people, we just walk past them like they're not even there. Imagine if the beggars on your street, you take time to tell them about Jesus and share the love of God with them. What do you think will happen? You might not have money. Peter said, silver and gold I have none, but what I have I give unto you. He gave them time. He gave them his attention. He gave them the Jesus he carried, even when he didn't have money. Many of us are not willing to spend time with people. We're not willing to spend our knowledge. We're not willing to extend to share our knowledge with people. You might not have money, but all some people need is just your company. All some people need is just some understanding. Some people in their hearts, they're crying. Who would talk to me? Who would just take time to ask me how I'm doing? Who would care about my side of the story? You see some people not looking very well, and in your mind you automatically write them off that this is a no good person. This person is bad. This person does not deserve anything good in life, or this person has made bad decisions. That's why they're where they are. But in their mind, you don't know if this person didn't have a chance to know what you know. You don't know if this person has tried but failed because of inadequate knowledge. But because you just see them from the outside and they don't look like the people who you want to relate with, you write them off. But that's not what Christianity is about. That's not what God has done to us. So I found that understanding the other side of the story is the best way to live life. There was a movie I watched once, and I saw that in that movie, I think they were trying to depict the fact that there was going to be a world war if the other side of the story was not here. Now, this was what happened. A submarine actually shot a missile into, I think it was an American, base or something like that. And immediately, the people who shot that missile did it in such a way that the Russians were to be blamed for it. Meanwhile, the Russians were innocent. They didn't do it. But because some people who wanted to benefit from war went into the middle and shot the missile, they said, we trust that the Americans will not ask questions. But thank God for the president in that movie. He said, we are not going to retaliate till we hear from the other side. Already his generals were putting pressure on him. They said, we cannot let the Russians have their way. We must retaliate. We have a battleship 10 kilometers away from them. We're in range. We can wipe out the whole of their defense system and all of that. And he held on. The pressure on him was so much that he had to push all of them out of the room, like Jesus did with these guys when he went to raise the woman up. He said, all these guys, your generals or whatever, you admirals, get out of the room. And he had to think things through himself. And he said, till I hear from the president, I am not going to fire a single missile. And it turns out that they captured the president as well. That was why they were able to do the thing they did. The president was captured. So if not that he waited till he knew the details from the other side of the world, it would have been all-out nuclear war. That's just a movie. But today when I heard first, I just remembered, I said, if not the wisdom of that man, of listening to the other side, if he had listened to his own generals who were ready for war, they would have started wiping each other out with nuclear weapons, and the enemies who strategically planned that nobody will find out the both sides of the story would have won. In our lives today, the same thing happening. Some of us, it's easy for people to make us to hate others. All they have to do is just tell you something that is unpleasant, and you just believe it, and you say, don't mind them. These Christians, or these people, or those people, and you just write them off. And in no time, you have more enemies than friends. But that is not what Jesus did. So we have to be willing to take time to find out at all times the other side of every story.
Now, you mentioned about Nigeria. You said that in our country, that many people just believe, many people in the street just believe whatever news comes to them first. Now, recently, there have been some news in Nigeria about me, and those people who read negative things and believe them, they cancel that person in their lives. They say, oh, wow, I don't want to have anything to do with this person, or I don't want, this guy, maybe if he's as bad as they are writing, I'm off. Now, you know me, and you know what is getting ready to hit Nigeria. And what do you think? The people who have already believed the stories and have already cancelled themselves, who is going to lose? You have written the book. Some of them will not read this book because of what they have read on the internet. Some of them will not join they will not even know about the Nigerian transformation project. So who is at the loop? So that's just an example for you to know who is at a loss. Why? What do you know? What am I planning for Nigeria?
Like Pastor's plans for Nigeria that he has outlined is so huge that it has never been seen before. Now, this is a book he has written, and this book is a deliverance tool. What this book will give you, prayer cannot give you. I can tell you that for sure because I have read this book. I am a Nigerian. I spent most of my life in Nigeria, and the truths in this book, I never heard them anywhere. Some of the leaders that I thought were bad, when I actually read this book and did research, I could see and read the research in it, I could see for myself that these guys were actually heroes. Some of the people who we worship, I found that they didn't even do as much as some people who we claim are bad guys. In fact, some people I didn't even know them at all. And I'm Nigerian. I didn't know my own country's history. And how am I supposed to be a good citizen if I don't understand the history of my nation? So anybody who just believes what is said on the street, they wouldn't enjoy anything that is good. Take, for instance, this book. Pastor Sunday has written it. Many people believe that they believe what they've read in the news, and they say, oh, we don't want to hear from him and stuff like that. You will be missing out on a lot of things. What this book will give you, you can't get it yourself. If you can, you would have done it before now. So it's best that you just forget. That's my advice. Forget what you're reading in the news, because what is about to hit Nigeria is something that you've never seen before. You would love to be on board more than off board in this ship. Trust me, when this train leaves the station, you would wish you got on board. What he's planning for Nigeria, I kid you not, I have never seen it before. He has a plan for every local government of the nation. He has a plan for every state. He has a plan for every part of the life of people. He even has a plan for armed robbers. Guys, armed robbers, people who are robbing the nation today. He has a plan of how to rehabilitate them and make them into respectable citizens. And he's not just saying things. I have seen him do it in Ukraine. I have seen people who have gone to prison more than 3 times become respectable people in the society. Some of them have become business heads. Some of them have become government officials. Some of them have become pastors of big churches. Some of them are running rehabilitation centers. And these were people who were in prison. Not once, not twice, not thrice. I have seen women who also were in prison. I have seen women who were prostitutes. In fact, that was one of the first things that struck me. So who were prostitutes become respectable women. So don't write him off. If you write him off, tomorrow when things begin to happen, you write off your destiny, because he has set up a platform. The best you can do is to get on board and use that platform to launch yourself to wherever you want to go, because he's somebody who is willing to put everything behind you once he sees that you know where you're going and you're willing to do the hard work. So it's going to be best for you to start by reading this book and preparing for his coming, because God has sent him to Nigeria. When I first met him, he wasn't talking about Nigeria. He wasn't saying anything. In fact, he said that country, in fact, these people, I don't even understand them. And I could see it because I didn't want to go back to Nigeria myself. But God told me a long time ago that I would go, but I didn't like that idea. In fact, I was casting and binding it. I hated the idea with all of my heart, because when I was leaving Nigeria, I said, this place, I'm not going to live here anymore. But then, when he started talking about Nigeria, I started embracing my destiny. I started saying, okay, God, maybe you were right. Because all of a sudden, I started seeing the great things and the great potential that lies in that country and the massive things that are about to happen. Nigeria, get ready. If you're in Nigeria, no matter where you are, trust me, you would want to come back home. Forget about what you're seeing in the news. Forget about the hardship you're seeing now. Start by reading this book. It will help to align your mind for the new move of God that is about to take place in that nation as soon as Pastor Sunday gets there.
How can they get the book?
That is that. You can get this book on Amazon. Just go on Amazon and type Pastor Sunday's books. You will see the book there. Or go on his blog. You will see it. Or come on his Facebook. Just look through the post. You will see links that will take you to Amazon where you can buy it. Those of you who are in Nigeria, Pastor has promised that in a few months you'll be getting a shipment and this book will be in bookstores. So those of you who are outside Nigeria, get it on Amazon. It's easy. You can read it on your iPads and on your electronic devices. And you can even have it delivered to your houses. Depends on the infrastructure in your country. But those of you in Nigeria, if you can't buy it on Amazon, just hold on and keep your ears to the ground, because very soon this book is going to be hitting Nigeria. And trust me, you want to read this book. Your destiny is tied to this book as long as you're in Nigeria, because the truths in this book will not only set you free, but it will lift you up and turn you into a giant and make our nation the great nation that we know it can become. And the continent alike, those of you who are not Nigerians, trust me, this book has principles that will help you to set your country ablaze for God. Those of you who are Christians in any country or even Muslim, no matter who you are, just read this book and you will find that the truths in this book can set you and your nation free. You're not going to be blaming your leaders anymore. You will start thinking differently. You will become a proactive person. You will become a revolutionary person in your nation. People wouldn't understand you anymore, because the truths in this book will set you on fire and will get you going. Trust me on it. I have read it, and that's why I can talk the way I'm talking right now. Get this book as soon as you can, digest the truth in it, and you will see that your life will become different. So, more on Pastor Sunday, briefly, I noticed that when I began to believe the lies that I heard about him, I wasn't listening to his messages online at the time, because I didn't really know him then. And in fact, I didn't even get curious. I just heard that, oh, there was something happening in Kyiv, and I didn't even know he was falsely accused. I was just listening to the fact that, oh, this is what happened. And the funniest part is bad news spreads faster than good news. And it's so strange because we never really take time to find out the truth. Whatever anybody says, they just say, oh, I heard that this happened. And we just take that fact. I saw that his messages, I wasn't listening to it. I saw that his books, I wasn't buying. Kyiv, I was not coming because I was in another city at the time. And I just saw that I wasn't really interested. I was like, okay, he did that. Okay, that's fine. That's him. But then, when I got delivered and God had mercy on me, the first day I listened to one of his messages, I cannot forget how I felt. That was one of the only times in my life I ever heard a message and I was crying. I'm not an emotional person. I was shedding tears and I was like, oh God, I cannot imagine that for the past more than 5 years of my life, I was missing out on this truth. And the message so resonated with me that I was like, good God, how could I have missed this all along? It was as if I was listening to somebody reading my thoughts. And I was like, is this the same guy that I was hearing all the bad stuff about? And I was like, no, I must be in contact with this guy. I must be in contact with this pastor. And when I came close to him, it became even more. All of a sudden, the things I thought I knew, I was just believing the completely wrong information. I was on the wrong side of everything. And I found that with many people, it's the same thing. What's happening inside people, we have no idea. We believe we do because of what somebody said. But till you actually get on the inside and listen to the other side, you have no idea. What is planning for Nigeria now? Many people don't know. Those who are carrying the news around and who are carrying the propaganda, they don't know they're pushing away their own deliverance, because God is sending to transform the nation, not just some people or some church. He's not coming to start a church. As far as I know, he said till God says start a church, I'm not starting. But what I'm going for is national transformation. He's done it in Ukraine, the country that is a lot more hostile than my nation, Nigeria, and
to black people.
To black people, he's coming to do it to his own people. So forget about what the media is saying. Forget about what the naysayers are saying.
Don't let them block your destiny.
Don't let them block your own destiny. Get on board and enjoy what God has destined for that nation. Because he has said it, that he's going to be employing a lot of people. He's going to be giving a lot of people opportunities to, display their talents, to be their best. All you have to do is just, come with your own project. He said he's going to be sponsoring thousands of projects. So those of you who say, I have ideas, but there's nobody to give me the funds or there's nobody to guide me, you just wait, because help is on the way. Just get your projects ready. Get your ideas ready, write them down, make sure you have a very good system of how you want things to work, and it would not be a problem. Funds will not be a problem, tutelage will not be a problem, guidance and mentorship will not be a problem, because he has already set up a system that is going to take care of all of that. So our nation is about to become an envy to the world, all because of Pastor Sunday. So all of the attacks that are coming online, push all those things aside. They don't matter. Those things just smoke, they're just to distract you. Stay focused on the truth. Stay focused on the principles. Stay focused on your goals. Stay focused on what you're learning. And you will find that at the end of the day, you'll be an explosive person. Bad news does not last for long, because one thing I've noticed with him, like, he's a fighter. What they're doing in Nigeria, that's what he's been dealing with for over 10 years in Ukraine, all his life.
20 years.
People over 20 years. People have come to the church with guns. There was a time that people, every 3 minutes in the nation, on TV, in the newspapers, they write bad news about him. So this is the kind of life he has lived. So it's not new. When some people are panicking, I just look at them and laugh. I say, you guys don't know Pastor Sunday. I have the privilege of knowing him. He's not worried. You don't worry. Forget about that news and just focus on your own life and your own destiny, because it will pay you a lot better if you do that.
Well, do you remember will you tell people the address we have to write to if they want to be a part of the Nigerian Transformation Project, Nigeria, or you don't remember, I will say it?
Yeah, please say.
Okay. If you want to be part of my team that will be going to Nigeria, I'm gathering 2,000 people to go from all over the world to Nigeria with me. I already have about 200 from here, and there will be 2,000 other people from all over the world. The address is, if you are interested or you want to know more about this project, Nigerian Transformation Project, you need to write to Nigeria at SundayAdelajaFoundation.com. Nigeria at SundayAdelajaFoundation.com. Or you could just write to me. My home email is pastor@godembassy.org. So send your inquiries or your interest, and then we'll be able to send you more information about it. But it's true what the brother is saying. Nigeria doesn't even have an idea what is coming. And everybody that will come across Pastor Sunday will only regret about one thing: where was I before now? But when I get to Nigeria, you will be thinking this is not happening. You will be thinking you are dreaming. So, but if you are living abroad and you don't even know yet either to go back to Nigeria or not, better pray about it. Because we are going. And we are going with foreigners, we are going with people from other countries, and we are getting there to change the country. Not just to sit down there and do nothing. No, we are not just going to do religion. We are going to bring about transformation. So anyway, I can't believe it. Our time is already up. It's over 1 hour right now, and I've not even read much of what people have said. Let me quickly read. Shidima is saying a resounding amen to that. Falola Wurola. Okay, Falola Wurola said he is talking the real truth. Nigeria is going to change in a big way. Even other nations will have to get visa to come. Abby Coach says, amen, amen, in Jesus' name. Faith Kenny say, wow, listening to Pastor Sunday is like someone reading my thoughts. That's what he said. Abby Coach said, more grace and God's anointing upon my humble Pastor Sunday. Thank you. Kenneth Amobi said, Pastor, I'm not surprised about the critics and those writing bad things about you. They are already announcing the success. Nothing can stop a moving train. And that is being controlled by the Holy Spirit. Well done, boy. You are loaded like pastor.
He's loaded.
The government of Nigeria needs men. That is Bernard Etta say, needs men like Pastor Sunday Adelaja as his honorary advisor. Pastor Sunday Adelaja is not a politician. He isn't interested in getting into politics. He's a nation builder. And I think Nigeria needs his wisdom at this time. God bless you, man of God. Thank you. Abiodun Olaluwe say, thanks a lot, sir. Bamishai Victor say, trust me, it will blow your mind what Pastor has, the plan of Pastor Sunday. Venantia says, hello. Success says, success Olayemi. God often places our greatest blessings in the areas of our prejudice. I have found this to be true consistently. Yes. Marion say, preach it, brother. Ernest says, Melinda is all about, okay, that's about. Olukayode said, how do you handle very proud people? Well, just leave them alone. You can keep on looking for those who are not proud. You can't force people to listen to you. Abby said, thanks so much for sharing these great words of admonition, so lifting and encouraging. By the way, let's go ahead and share this message, please. Let's go ahead and share the message with our friends and our contacts, okay? Please go and share the message. Our time is up today. I'll be there tomorrow morning to see you. God bless you, everybody. Good night. Bye.